twin suns of Sirocco Prime burned low in the sky, casting long, dusty shadows across the sprawling settlement. Jackson rode slowly through the crowded streets of the frontier town, his boots tapping against the metal-plated walkways. The air smelled of smoke, spices, and the tang of alien metal, an aroma that made him uneasy yet alert. He had been traveling for weeks, following whispers of a notorious slave market rumored to sell captives from across the galaxy. Humans, aliens, and hybrids alike were trapped behind cages, sold for power, wealth, or curiosity. Jackson's eyes scanned every alley, every raised platform for signs of danger. Here, survival wasn't guaranteed. The market sprawled across a canyon of rusted buildings and suspended walkways. Lanterns and neon signs in alien scripts flickered, illuminating the chaos below. Traders shouted over each other, calling attention to their wares. Creatures with iridescent scales, beings with 6 arms, and humans who had been captured during raids far from their homes. Jackson's hand hovered near his blaster, but he didn't rush. He had a plan, and haste could ruin it. It wasn't long before he saw them. Taya and Neva, 2 sisters, sat in a worn cage, separated by barely a foot of space. They were human, their skin sun-kissed, their hair dark and tangled from long captivity. But their eyes, sharp, defiant, and alert, told a story of unbroken spirit. Many in the crowd ignored them, seeing only 2 ordinary humans. Jackson felt a spark of recognition. He knew better. Humans, underestimated and dismissed, were often the most dangerous because they refused to give up. He approached the alien dealer, a hulking creature with mottled green skin and 4 eyes stacked vertically on its face. Its claws tapped impatiently on the metal counter, causing a jarring metallic echo. "Ah," the dealer said, its voice like gravel scraping metal. "A human comes to buy humans." Bold choice. Or foolish, Jackson didn't flinch. "I'll take the 2 girls," he said simply. "Both of them." The dealer tilted its head, revealing teeth sharper than knives. "Buy one, get one free," it said with a hint of amusement, as though it were sharing a joke only it could understand. Jackson raised an eyebrow. The offer sounded absurd, but he didn't question it. He reached for his credit chips and counted out the precise amount. The deal was done in seconds, and the cage door swung open with a hiss. Taya and Neva didn't immediately trust him. After months of cruelty, betrayal, and being treated as property, they had learned caution was survival. Taya's gaze met Jackson's, assessing him, measuring his intentions. Neva stayed silent but kept her eyes on the crowd, alert for anyone who might strike. Jackson extended a hand, not for contact, but as a gesture of assurance. "You're safe now," he said firmly. The sisters hesitated, then moved quickly, stepping out of the cage and adjusting to the freedom they hadn't felt in months. Their movements were fluid, trained, and instinctive, a reminder that survival had shaped them well. Jackson noticed the way they scanned their surroundings, taking in threats the casual eye would miss. This was no ordinary human pair. Their exit from the market wasn't smooth. As they walked, several alien traders noticed the transaction and weren't pleased. "That's ours," one shrieked, brandishing a jagged energy blade. "You don't get humans without paying extra." Jackson didn't panic. Instead, he smiled faintly and dropped his hand to the blaster at his side. The first shot was a warning, ricocheting off a nearby pillar. Sparks flew, drawing the attention of the market crowd. Taya and Neva instinctively ducked and followed his lead, weaving between stalls and swinging carts. Chaos erupted around them, and Jackson realized the market had underestimated them. They weren't just buying humans. They were taking on creatures who had thought humans were weak. The trio ran across a suspension bridge, the wind whipping around them, carrying cries and shouts from below. Jackson took the lead, clearing obstacles, while Taya and Neva followed with precision. They weren't panicking, they were strategizing. At a narrow section of the bridge, Neva grabbed a loose cable and swung across, creating a distraction that sent 2 pursuing aliens tumbling into the canyon below. Taya used a compact stun device she had hidden in her sleeve to disable a hovering drone, its lights flickering out mid-air. Jackson watched them, impressed. Humans were underestimated, yes, but they were unpredictable, clever, and dangerous when cornered. Once they reached the other side, the streets were quieter. They ducked into an abandoned warehouse to catch their breath. Jackson leaned against a crate, eyeing the sisters. "You 2 have skills," he said, breaking the silence. "Where did you learn to move like that?" Taya shrugged, a hint of pride in her eyes. "You survive by learning fast. Or you die," Neva added, "and you watch. You never stop watching. That's how humans stay alive." Jackson nodded. He had known humans were clever, but seeing it firsthand was something else. Their minds never stopped, always calculating, always adjusting. In a galaxy full of predictable aliens, unpredictability was a weapon. They needed a plan. The market would send trackers, bounty hunters, and perhaps even mercenary ships to retrieve them. Jackson decided to lead them to an abandoned freighter on the outskirts of the city, a ship he had repaired and hidden weeks before. It was small but fast and easy to maneuver, perfect for a quick escape from Sirocco Prime. As they moved, Taya whispered, "We could have escaped on our own, you know." Jackson smiled faintly. "Yes, but alone, you'd still be running from someone stronger. Together we can make them think twice before chasing humans again." The sisters shared a glance, understanding dawning. Humans had strength in numbers, yes, but even alone their minds made them formidable. Jackson led them into a narrow alley, dark and lined with rusting shipping crates. Their passage was slow and careful, the shadows their allies. Every sound echoed, a distant metal clang, a low growl, the hiss of alien machinery. They were being hunted, but they had the advantage of surprise. Suddenly, a group of alien bounty hunters blocked the alley. Their armor gleamed under the twin suns, and their weapons were charged. Jackson stopped, the sisters right behind him. The hunters smirked, expecting fear. Jackson's expression remained calm. "Human," the lead hunter said, "you've bought trouble for yourself." Jackson didn't answer. Instead, he moved with lightning speed, drawing his blaster and firing precise shots at the hunters' weapons, disabling them without killing. Taya and Neva moved like shadows, striking quickly. Using improvised tools from the crates around them, the alley erupted into controlled chaos. Humans against aliens, every move unpredictable. In the end, the hunters lay incapacitated, cursing, while the trio slipped away through a side exit. Jackson exhaled, glancing at the sisters. "Impressive," he said. "You're not so bad yourself," Taya replied, her voice tinged with respect. Neva nodded silently, but the intensity in her eyes said it all. They had survived this together, and that bond was stronger than anything the galaxy could throw at them. The freighter waited beyond the city's edge, hidden beneath the shadow of a massive cliff. Jackson guided them inside, closing the hatch and activating the engines. The hum of the ship filled the small cabin as they lifted off, escaping the market, the city, and the hunters. As the landscape fell away beneath them, Jackson looked at Taya and Neva. "You're free now," he said. "But freedom isn't easy. The galaxy is full of people who think humans are weak. It's time we show them why that's a mistake." The sisters exchanged a glance, determination shining in their eyes. They had been underestimated their whole lives, treated as property, overlooked because they were human. Now, with Jackson's help, they had a chance to fight back, not just for themselves, but to prove that humans were unpredictable, clever, and unyielding. The stars stretched out before them, vast and limitless. Jackson piloted the ship through the quiet void, knowing the real challenges were just beginning. But he also knew one thing: humans in the right hands could overcome anything, and these two sisters were living proof of that. As Sirocco Prime faded behind them, Taya finally spoke, her voice soft but steady. "I think we might actually survive this." Jackson smiled, a rare moment of relief crossing his rugged face. "We won't just survive," he said. "We'll thrive. Humans always do." The freighter jumped to hyperspace, carrying 3 humans into the unknown, away from captivity, and into a galaxy that had underestimated them at every turn. And for the first time in months, the sisters allowed themselves a small sense of hope. A hope built on human cunning, courage, and unbreakable spirit. The freighter hummed quietly as it sliced through hyperspace, carrying Jackson and the 2 sisters far from Sirocco Prime. The cabin was small, but the sense of safety it offered was enough for a momentary reprieve. Taya and Neva moved cautiously around the ship, their eyes never fully relaxing, still alert for any signs of pursuit. Jackson watched them closely. He had seen human resilience before, but these two were extraordinary. Months of hardship had forged them into something more than survivors. They were thinkers, fighters, and problem solvers. "I've never flown anything like this before," Neva said softly, touching the control panel. Her fingers trembled slightly, not from fear but from the thrill of being in control. Jackson smiled. "Don't worry. I'll teach you. Humans adapt fast. You'll be running this ship before long." Taya leaned against a bulkhead, her gaze fixed on the stars. "We have to plan. They won't let us get away without a fight. The market has connections everywhere, Jackson nodded. I know, but running blindly isn't our style. We'll find a place to hide, repair, and then decide our next move. We're humans. We don't wait for luck. We make our own. The sisters exchanged a look, understanding that Jackson's words weren't empty bravado. Humans' greatest weapon wasn't just strength, it was their mind, their unpredictability, their ability to improvise. Days passed in the freighter, each filled with lessons and preparation. Jackson taught Taya and Neva how to operate the ship's navigation, manage its weapons, and maintain its engine. He shared survival strategies for hostile planets and alien territories. In return, the sisters showed him techniques for moving silently, improvising with limited tools and reading situations quickly. Their minds were sharp and their instincts were uncanny. During one of their simulations, Jackson set up a mock attack. He activated the ship's sensors to track imaginary threats. They'll come, he said. And when they do, you have to be ready. Humans survive because we think 3 steps ahead. Taya's eyes narrowed. 3 steps? I say 5. Always plan for what they don't expect. Jackson chuckled. Good. That's exactly the kind of thinking that keeps humans alive. As they traveled further into uncharted space, the freighter's sensors finally picked up a signal. Alien ships, sleek and predatory, were closing in fast. Jackson tightened his grip on the controls. They found us, he said calmly. Time to see if humans are really as clever as we claim. Taya and Neva moved to the weapons station. The sisters had learned quickly, their fingers flying over the controls with practiced precision. Neva targeted the incoming ship's engines, while Taya set traps designed to mislead and confuse. Jackson plotted a course through an asteroid field, weaving the freighter between massive rocks with millimeter accuracy. The alien ships followed aggressively, firing energy bolts that lit the void. Jackson's heart raced, but he stayed focused, trusting in the sisters' skills. One ship approached too close. Neva's quick thinking allowed her to fire a decoy drone, which veered off to the side, drawing the ship's attention. Another ship sped toward them, but Taya's clever use of the asteroid field forced it into a collision course with space debris. Jackson's respect for the sisters grew with every maneuver. Humans, he muttered to himself. They really are something else. After narrowly escaping, they entered the orbit of a remote, barren planet. Jackson guided the freighter down to a hidden canyon, the perfect place to lay low and repair the ship. The landing was rough but controlled, and once the engines powered down, a tense silence settled over the trio. They worked together to maintain and reinforce the freighter. Taya checked the hull, Neva recalibrated the engines, and Jackson examined the weapons. The sisters had grown from captives into equal partners in survival. Each repair, each adjustment was a demonstration of human resilience. As night fell on the planet, they set up a temporary camp. Jackson lit a small, safe fire inside the freighter. The sisters sat near it, exhausted but alive. For the first time, the 3 of them spoke freely about their pasts. Taya recounted how she and Neva had been captured during a space raid, taken from a remote human colony, and sold to the highest bidder. Her voice was calm, almost detached, but the pain was there beneath the surface. Neva spoke less, but each word she shared carried weight, painting a picture of loss, courage, and survival. Jackson listened, his own past as a lone traveler and fighter echoing in his mind. We've all been underestimated, he said finally. But humans, we don't stay down. We adapt, we fight, we survive. That's why we're still here. The sisters nodded, a silent agreement forming between them. They had been through horrors, yet the galaxy hadn't broken them. If anything, it had sharpened their minds and honed their instincts. The next day, Jackson suggested a reconnaissance mission. We need to know what's out there, he said. If the market wants to find us, we need to be ready. Knowledge is survival. The sisters agreed. They took a small scout vessel and flew over the nearby asteroid belt. From above, they could see alien patrols moving methodically, searching for any signs of their freighter. Taya spotted a pattern in their movements. They're predictable, she said. We can use that. Jackson nodded, impressed. Exactly. Predictable enemies are the ones humans exploit best. Returning to the freighter, they prepared traps and decoys, setting up false signals and misleading trails. Every step was calculated, every decision aimed at survival. The sisters' ingenuity amazed Jackson. They weren't just following orders. They were thinking ahead, planning contingencies he hadn't even considered. That night, the alien pursuers arrived. 3 sleek ships appeared in orbit scanning for life signs. Jackson took a deep breath, feeling the familiar rush of adrenaline. "Ready?" he asked. Taya and Neva nodded. The battle began. The freighter darted through the canyon, dodging energy blasts, while the sisters fired decoys and set traps that caused the alien ships to collide with each other or miscalculate their trajectory. Jackson weaved between rock formations, narrowly avoiding destruction at every turn. At one point, an alien ship locked onto them, charging its primary weapon. Jackson didn't panic. "Now, Neva," he shouted. Neva activated a device that emitted a high-frequency pulse, disabling the ship's targeting systems. Taya then fired a precise shot at its engine, sending it spinning uncontrollably into the canyon wall. The remaining ships hesitated, surprised by the humans' tactics. Jackson grinned. "Humans don't fight fair," he said aloud, more to himself than anyone else. The sisters laughed softly, a sound filled with relief and triumph. After what felt like hours but was only minutes, the alien ships retreated. Jackson and the sisters had survived, their combined skills and quick thinking proving that humans were far more dangerous than anyone expected. In the aftermath, they floated in silence, the stars stretching endlessly before them. Jackson turned to the sisters. "You did well. Not just good, but exceptional. You're not just survivors, you're humans. And humans. We're unpredictable, unstoppable when we work together." Taya smiled faintly, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "We've learned from the best," she said. Neva nodded in agreement. The bond between them was unspoken but strong. They were more than allies now. They were a team forged by adversity and shared courage. Jackson set the freighter on a new course, deeper into uncharted space. The market would send more hunters eventually, but they were ready. Each of them had grown stronger, sharper, and more resourceful. They were humans, underestimated by the galaxy at every turn, but now their enemies would learn that humans survived and thrived where others failed. As they traveled, Jackson allowed himself a rare thought. The galaxy had no idea what it was up against. Taya and Neva had been prisoners, yet they had shown ingenuity and bravery that many so-called warriors lacked. Together, the three of them were a force the universe hadn't calculated. The freighter glided silently through the void, a small, human-led crew defying expectations and survival odds. The stars stretched endlessly, promising freedom, adventure, and a future defined not by captivity, but by human resilience, courage, and ingenuity. Jackson leaned back in his seat, watching the sisters adjust to life aboard the ship. "We're not done," he said softly, almost to himself. "The galaxy will remember humans, not because we are the strongest, but because we never give up, never stop thinking, and never let fear control us." Taya and Neva exchanged a glance, understanding perfectly. Their past had been harsh, but the future was theirs to shape. They had survived the impossible, escaped the market, and proven that humans could outthink, outfight, and outlast even the deadliest threats. The stars stretched on, infinite and promising, and for the first time in a long time, the sisters felt hope. A hope born of human spirit, intelligence, and courage that no one in the galaxy could ignore. Humans had won today, not through brute force alone, but through ingenuity, determination, and the unbreakable bond of survival. And Jackson knew as he stared into the endless void that this was only the beginning.